Turn on some lights. Hello. Good morning. Today's April 1st. April Fools. I'm still here. So, another live Monday morning. I got my coffee. You got YouTube. Let's make some animation. Like usual, I'll wait till some people show up. And once you guys get in here and we can start brainstorming some different ideas, then maybe we can animate something and then have a little fun, right? Yeah. You guys want to have some fun? Like usual, there's no time frame. There's no schedule. I'm just going to kind of wing it, interact, correspond. Let's talk. Let's hang out. And then, yeah, I don't have any plans. So you are my plans. Let me know what you think. We'll see how far I get today. I feel like 3 hours is really pushing it. But 3 hours allows for like people who typically wouldn't be able to join because it's just a longer window of people to come in and be like, oh, hey, what's up? Didn't realize you were doing it right now. So yeah, when you guys show up, we can start talking, and then we can do an animation in Moho. Potter with my son, he's like super into it right now. So I don't know if we could do like, I don't know, Harry Potter kind of thing. Maybe not. Anyway, I'm just going to start opening up Moho. Look at that dirty mug. What is that? It looks like blueberries. Let me pull up. Let's pull it up here on my phone. Did you guys have a good weekend? You guys do anything fun? It was Easter. Did anyone do anything fun for Easter? No? Had a little barbecue. It was nice. So I think I'll just, how should I do this? Maybe I'll open this up and then I'll have like a couple suggestions, and that way you guys can kind of pick and choose. Let's see, open. Who do I want to animate today? Let's get a nice character in here. Well, seeing that it's Easter, why don't we animate Jesus? Let's turn that off. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Entire screen. Yes. There we go. I'm going to hide that. All right, let me type out, maybe I'll type out some different options here. We could do, should we do magical? Magical, funny. Man, funny is really vague. What could we do other than funny? No. Maybe silly. Silly, a good one. Sure, I'll put funny up there. And let's do magical, silly, funny, action. What else we got? Dance. Should we do dance? Dance. I won't go too many. Like karate. All right, I'm gonna number these. We'll do 1, magical. 2, silly. 3, funny. 4, action. 5, dance. Oh, and karate. 6, karate. We'll keep it at 6. All right, this should give you a good visual on what we could do. I'll just let you guys vote on this. How about that? How about we vote on what we should do? Should be number 1, number 2, 3, number 4, 5, or 6. And I'm kind of worried that because it is a holiday weekend, maybe a lot of people won't be showing up this morning. So it will just be me. And maybe I will just scratch this whole thing and say, try it again next week. That's okay. Even if nobody shows up, that's okay. Yeah, so if we don't start getting some people in here, I'm just going to delete the video, pretend it never happened. I don't really feel like sitting here talking to myself this morning, so I do have work to do, people. So I'm just going to sit here for a little bit longer. I don't know, maybe I'll just start working on my own stuff. And then if people decide to show up, then I'll jump back into this. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. So if we did magical, we could do something kind of like... Hello? It should be back in that drawer. The one by the cutting board. Really? All right. Bye. Hey guys, welcome. Thank you for showing up. Oh my gosh. I didn't think anyone was going to show. Yeah, what's the plan for today? All right, so I don't know. We don't have to do this, but I threw up some different animation suggestions. We could do something 1 magical, 2 silly, 3 funny, 4 action based, wow, 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 whatever that might be. That might actually be, well, that's separate than karate. Then we could do a dance, or maybe we could do some karate moves. I don't know. And if there's another option out there that you guys are thinking of, let me know. I'm not sold on any of these. It doesn't have to be that. Just want to do something fun, because animation is supposed to be fun, and if it's not fun, you're not doing it right. So that's what we're aiming for. Let's make some fun happen. So back to your question, my only plan for today is to have fun. And I could have fun with any one of these animation actions. So I could even have fun with him drinking coffee, and maybe it's too hot and burns his mouth. That could be fun. Something simple, subtle. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Seinfeld lately, and basically the premise of Seinfeld is that nothing happens. It's a show about nothing, right? If you've ever seen the show or you're familiar with it, you know that there's no like major plot. There's some smaller storylines that happen, but there's no like, I don't know how to put it, other like there's no journey that the characters take. So it's all about these little random things that are happening. You learned waving for your first animation in Moho. Dude, well, that's great. That's great. That's a simple action. You just raise your arm and put it back and forth. That's a great way to feel the way that the rigs are moving. Was it the last one I did? No, the last one I did was the character drinking from a jug. But the one before that, I did a waving cycle. I don't know if you were there for that one. That's great. You're learning Moho. Has it been pretty easy to transition into this program? I know it was really challenging for me at first because, like I've been saying, it's a different language. So if you don't know, I mean, even if you know a little bit about After Effects or any other animation program, this is like its own language. So it's been challenging to say the least. But once you start to figure it out and you understand it, then it's not that challenging. So yeah, I'm open to suggestions. If you guys want to see me animate anything, maybe something really simple this week, something so simple that we can get it done real quick and you can be like, wow, I was able to watch the whole thing. Because I think what happens is, it takes me like sometimes 2 hours or so to animate this cycle thing that we're doing. And some people don't want to sit around and watch, for 2 hours. You want to see an arm rig? Yeah, I could work on an arm rig while you guys are thinking about it, or at least show you my arm rig. Let's just make one. All right, so what you got to do for creating something is you come over here, create a new vector. I'm going to call this one upper arm over here. And then I'm going to actually create a new bone because we have to rig up the arm. So once you have your bone created, I'll call it arm. You can put your upper arm inside that bone. And then we can create another bone, and I'll call this one, actually, I'll hold off on that. Let's create our upper arm. Yeah, the keyframes, yeah, it's hard. Keyframes is way too hard here. Yeah, so you're saying you like After Effects keyframes a lot better. I feel like After Effects, the control you have over the keyframes is a lot easier. I do like that better. There are some functions in Moho that I like better, where you can have just your block of keyframes all in one spot. At first it seems confusing, but in the long run it makes sense. So I like that option. And then Daniel, you say your arm rig becomes twisted. Okay. Let me show you how I do my arm rig, because I really like the way that it turns out. So we'll do like a shoulder joint here. Then we'll extend a like a forearm for it. And then we'll copy this circle here. Then we'll move it down here for the elbow. So your strokes are twisting. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'll hit H on the keyboard to hide this line here. So you hit H, and then it hides it. Now this isn't going to be clean, so I'm not like super worried about things lining up. So if you see issues, don't worry about it. All right, and then the next thing I'll do is I'll pull this forearm part above the circle, and then I'll hide this lower section here. All right, so now we have like a upper arm. And then what I'll do is I'll duplicate this layer, and I'll call it lower arm, or you could call it forearm, whatever you want. Okay. Then I will, oops. Then I'll select these. I'll move them. Actually, what I'll do, just to keep the joints perfect, is I'll take the, oops. Rename this. Okay, let me call this lower arm again. What I'll do is I'll take this part, which was the shoulder, but it's now part of the lower arm, and I'll move it down here to become the wrist. Okay, and I can even scale it down a bit. Whoops. How do you scale into center? It just scales. All right, so that's my wrist. I'll leave this part as the elbow. I might delete it. And then what I'll do is I'll take this part up here. I'll hit G to select my key points. And then I'll move this down. And this way it keeps a perfect alignment with the elbow. Although you keep a perfect alignment in your design and all your circles are perfect, that's the one thing I don't quite like about the rigging system, is that even if it's perfect in theory, when you put your bones in, it doesn't really matter, because your bones inevitably will never be perfect unless there's some kind of a shortcut that I don't know about to like lock your bones to your artwork. So then you end up with something like this. And you know what? I'm going to delete this one. Okay, so now I have a wrist and a forearm, and then I have a shoulder and an elbow on the upper arm. So 2 layers, lower arm, upper arm. And just for sake of clarity, I will make a layer called hand. And this is going to be simple. I'm not going to do any kind of like design work to it. Just a simple square. All right. There we go. So now that I have all this set up, I can go back to the top layer, which is called arm. And then I'm going to start to create the bones. So this tool here, I'll click in the middle of the shoulder. Oops. I'll click and drag down, holding shift to the elbow. And then I'll click and drag down to the wrist. And then you can click and drag for the hand as well. Now this is where it gets a little tricky for this kind of a rig, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, and I haven't done this in a long time, and I've only done it once, so if I make mistakes, I apologize. But right here at the top of the shoulder bone, I'm going to select it with B, and then I'm going to create a bone right on top here. Then I'm going to select that bone again and put a joint right here in the middle. And then I'll do one for the hand. And I'll attach this one to the wrist or the forearm. So then I will put one here too. So now each one of these new bones that I've created, so there's the long bone, which will control the way the arm moves. And then there's these little bones in between each joint, and those will control the artwork. And this just gives you so much more flexibility with creating foreshortening and all that kind of stuff. So coming back in, we have another job to do, and it is a little bit tricky. So each one of these new bones that we created, the little artwork bones that we're going to be manipulating, each one of those has to have a new bone coming out of it. So one that goes up and one that comes down. And each of those bones will be oriented to the direction of the arm. So let's just start doing this, and maybe it'll make sense in a little bit. So I'm going to select my the new shoulder bone. I'm going to draw just a smaller bone that comes down. Then I'll come over here, select this elbow bone, elbow joint. I'm going to draw one that goes up. Then I'm going to draw one that goes down. Okay. And then we're going to select this wrist, and we just draw one that goes up. Okay, this is for all the arm artwork. Another thing you want to do is we're going to turn the bone strength on all of these down. So if you're not familiar, the bone strength, it essentially encompasses whatever is in that blue area. So if it doesn't have any, if your vertices don't have any connection made, that bone will manipulate it. So we just turn that down because we don't need it. And then the next thing we're going to do, let's just see. So yeah, that's working. So this is where my memory gets a little hazy. So what we want to do is, let's see here. I'm going to select all these all these shoulder points, and I'm going to connect it to that small bone to the shoulder. So then we'll go here to bind points, and then we'll bind them. Whoa, you can see my bones are way off. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can move this bone into position. Let's go ahead and roll. How do I want to do this? Let's move this one up. Lock it here. Now let's look at our artwork, make sure it's It's almost there. Not quite. So let's do a length of maybe 3.45. No, it's just 3.4, right? Okay, then I'll move this one. Position. Put this one back. All right, and then this one will come lock up there. And then we'll extend the length of it to maybe 4.1. Oh, my. 0.4, let's 4.2. 4.5. All right, that's good enough. And then I'm going to move this wrist bone down to lock in. So that'll go there. So you can see how it's a little clunky, right? Shooting is not the easiest thing to do. Obviously, if I made some little markers to see my artwork better and I knew where the center points were, this would be a lot easier. But I don't have that. All right, so now back to the upper arm. So the upper arm, the elbow portion of the upper arm will need to be attached to this little bone that we have going up, pointing to the shoulder. So then what I'll do is I'll select all the points with the shoulder or the elbow, and we're going to bind them to that new little bone. And I should have layered all these things, or I should have labeled all these things, but somehow I'm sucked into this thing and I'm just trying to get through it. All right, now we'll select the bone that goes down from the elbow. And we're going to select our lower arm. And I'm going to grab this artwork here, and we are going to bind it to that. All right, and then we'll do the same thing for the wrist. So then we'll select this bone here, hit G, and then we'll select all the points associated with the wrist, minus the hand. We don't have to worry about the hand. And we're going to bind that. So next thing we need to do is this little bone here needs to be oriented to this bone here, B1. So if we come into constraints and we target it, control bones, this is where I'm going to need a second to figure out what I did before. Control bone angle B1. Let's see if that did it. Oops. Okay, so that worked. Perfect. And then we'll select this one. We're going to control this bone angle with B1. Whoops. So then this one will need to be controlled by B2. So we'll come to the elbow part here, and we'll go to B2. And then we'll come down to this wrist one, grab that little bone, and it will be controlled by B2 as well. So now let's see if that worked. So if I come here on my timeline, and then I select my arm bone, if I rotate this, oh, it's twisting like you said. Yes. We can fix that because I can see it's doing something weird. Let's see what this one does. Oh, that one's twisting too. Uh-oh. Why is it doing that? Maybe it needs to be controlled, or maybe I don't even need an angle. Let me just see. Let me turn off the angle controls. I could have swore it needed angle controls. Well, let's just see. Now if I come back here. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to turn these angle controls off. They are not doing a thing. All right, let's turn this off, none. I feel like this is gonna also mess me up, but let's just see. Hopefully it works. All right, let's come forward one frame. Yeah, see? What is this one attached to? Because you should be attached to. Okay, so if I move that, can I move this? So that works, but it's not controlled. Oh, that's what it is. This one needs to point to that elbow. All right, I figured it out. You guys ready? We're gonna get this working. This little bone needs to point to this elbow bone, and that's called B5. So then what we'll do is in bone constraints, our angles shall go to B5. And then this one, little elbow bone, needs to point to the shoulder, which is B4. And again, I should have labeled these. So we'll put it to B4. Then this one, the other elbow bone, needs to point to the wrist, which in my case is B6. So then I'll put it to B6. And then this one needs to point to the elbow bone again, which is B5. So then we'll put it to B5. And I swear to God, if this doesn't work, I'm just going to have to do it again. All right, let's try this again. So if I rotate, there we go. God damn it! You're supposed to point to it. Okay, so that's moving. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That one's supposed. Okay, maybe it's target bone. Okay. See, this is why I need you guys. Let's check it out. Use target bones for pointing the bone. Why does anybody want me to do a tutorial on this? Okay, target. Thank you. I thought it was target at first, but then I saw angle and I was like, why not? Okay, we're just going to use what it says here, and we're going to switch it out. So then we'll put this one to none. I don't know if ignored by IK. Does ignored by IK need to be selected? Hello, Nigeria. It's 5 o'clock. Nice. All right, then I'm going to come here. I'm going to switch this from an angle control to a target. And I'll put that to none. This will be, I'm just going to stop talking. You guys don't want to hear me talk. I don't want to hear me talk. And we'll go to none. Okay. And then real quick while I'm at it, I'm just going to attach this hand to this because I'm sick of watching it not move. All right. Please. I believe in you. Let's do this. Oh, you're smart. Okay. So yes, that seemed over complex. That seemed like way too much work. After Effects is way better. Why would you even do it in here? Well, one, I'm rusty. I haven't done this in a few months. But two, the reason that I like this is here's the reason. This is the clinch. This is the part of the rig that makes it worth it. It bends just like it would do in Limber or Duick or Rubber Hose. But check this out. Now I can move this arm around. Look at that. and it functions, you know? But once you get your arm into position, um, wherever you might want it to be, let's say the arm is like up like this, I can now control the elbow where I think it should be. Okay? And the cool thing about that, this is why it works for my rigs, and this is kind of a reason like I have some really cool fluid things happening with the rig, is because you can put dynamics onto this. So if I come to the first frame and then I put a position dynamic on, this is going to go crazy, by the way, but I just want to show you what it does. So I have a bone dynamic applied to this. So when I animate this arm, that elbow jiggles. You see that? As it comes up, the elbow continues to move. So all you have to do, not all you have to do, but you animate your character the way you like it, and then this program can add weight to it. And that's just such a beautiful thing. And you can change the way that moves. Like, let's say you want it to be even more springy. Boom, let's put it up to 5. Maybe we'll put the weight up to 5. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it jiggle for a lot longer. So if we put torque up, that's going to change how high it goes, right? So if we do, let's put the torque up to 5. Maybe we'll damp it at like 3. Okay, that gives it a nice weight to it. It is kind of moving a little slowly, but that's okay. We're just trying to help it out. Cool. So that's typically how I would do an arm rig. I like the option, or like the ability to move things around in this way. And you can also do it to the wrist as well. So like if we put a position, or actually an angle, not an angle, we'll do an angle on the wrist. Check this out. So I'll leave all that. I don't know. Maybe we'll put that up to 2. And this one, I'll figure that out later. Let's just see it. See the wrist? You know what? Let's attach this wrist to this part of the bone. All right. Now that wrist is way too jiggly. You can ask any questions you'd like. I'm here to answer them. So now this wrist is too jiggly. So let's see if we can, maybe we'll turn the damping up to 4, put the weight down to 1 again, and spring down to 1. That feels a little bit better. I wonder if that's probably what it is. If I do it like this. There we go. That was the problem, I think. Anyway, you guys get the point. You see what I was trying to do. So I like the way that it moves. I like the flexibility that you get. So let's say we just raise the arm up. So it comes up. Maybe it'll hold for a second, and then we can quickly drop it down like it's gesturing, like what? You know, and then we'll do that. This might feel a little too loosey-goosey, but you can adjust the dynamic settings and all that. All right. So do you guys Do you guys want me to just keep rigging or keep animating something? I don't know. What would be most useful for you guys? What would you guys enjoy? Just exploring Moho a little bit? And you can see it in practical use right here. So you see I've pushed this elbow out. It should have, dynamics on it. There's definitely dynamics on the wrists. So I didn't animate these wrists. So if you watch them jiggle the way they do, that's strictly just from the bone dynamics that are on them. And it's just a way to make things, one, feel a little bit more weighty, and then two, the smart bone, yeah, smart bones are the way to go. So I use smart bones for the shoulder here. So as the arm comes up, you can see the clavicle moves with it. That collarbone is being manipulated with smart bones, and then it's also adjusting the kind of the curvature of his torso. So that stuff's awesome. Like Moho's great. I love it. So you'd like to see a cartoon with a background. That would be cool to kind of like work through making backgrounds too. Also my smart bones, I can control the master position. So this is the entire body rotating. You have the little ones like the torso and head and whatnot, but if it needs just that little tweak to get that character into the right position or facing the right way, you can kind of angle him and such. Like, let's see. So he goes over there. Now, if he's like in an extreme profile view, it might not be possible to push him any further. But maybe you could pull him back forward, and then he would be you know, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, I would love to make an animation today. I'm just kind of playing around with some stuff right now. I was showing off how to do just like a simple arm rig. And that's what we came up with here. But yeah, let's do some animation. We're, I guess, kind of running out of time. So we got one for make an animation like he's introducing himself. Okay. Could you be more specific with that request? Would this be like, can you make a cartoon using Adobe After Effects with a background? So that would be like compositing. So that would be compositing your animation footage from Moho and then putting it into a background that's been made in After Effects. That could be done. Typically what I do now, though, is I animate in Moho. So I'll bring my backgrounds into Moho, animate everything here. And then if I have some compositing work or some effects that I need to add to it, maybe like coloring or something, then I'll do it in After Effects. But I typically don't animate in After Effects anymore. So that's kind of where we're at now. I can make a background in here, or at least import backgrounds. The what was I going to say? All right, so let's just start him over. So if anyone wants something on this list here, feel free to put your vote in. Well, thank you. I appreciate you supporting me in that way and then taking the tutorial. Yeah, what's funny, I hope this doesn't discourage you at all, but it was basically that rig that I did for Skillshare. That rig is kind of what it sealed the deal for me that I can't do After Effects anymore. The limitations are just a little bit too much with the ability of what you can create with a rig, and then also just the speed or the lag that it takes on your computer. Yeah, I got into a big project and I realized I can't work in After Effects anymore. I'm dealing with like 10 characters in one scene at a time. And my computer just doesn't work anymore. So I had to find a different option. And although I feel like that 360 rig that I did in Skillshare is really cool, and I think it pushes After Effects to its limits. If you are doing one rig and working on one character in After Effects, that's fine. I think it works great. It's when you try to expand that scope of work into something bigger, that's when you hit these really big issues. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So, having like the following I have, I don't think I'm very appreciative that anyone would follow me at all. But to your point, I don't really make any money from Instagram or YouTube. I don't make any money from Instagram or YouTube. So it's not profitable at all. I think if I was to market myself maybe even just a little bit better, I could find a way to squeeze some money out of it. The problem is I just don't care enough about it. I honestly don't care about Instagram or YouTube. There was a time when I was trying really hard to create videos. Maybe I could become a YouTuber. And then as I kind of like went down that avenue, I don't know, it wasn't fulfilling. I didn't like it. And I just stopped putting a lot of effort into anything I was creating. And then I stopped creating altogether because I was like, I don't know, it wasn't fulfilling. And I saw the way that YouTubers had to kind of present themselves in order to be popular and successful. And I really didn't want to do that. I'm not the kind of guy who can be like, all right, guys, what are we doing today? Or, and like create this big performance. That's not me. So my production quality, my production value is really low. And that's basically where it's going to stand. You're going to see my mistakes. I'm going to put stuff in front of your face that is not perfect. And yeah, it's up to you to decide if you want to watch it or not. So no, I don't make any money. There are the occasional people who reach out. I think that was part of your question as well. Because I have a following, it makes it easier for people to find me visually. So if someone sees what I do and they like it, then they can reach out. And I do get some work that way. But a lot of times it's like, hey, I got this project. You want to help? And I'm like, okay, you know, do you have a budget? And they're like, no, I thought you'd want to do it for fun. It's like, no, I have to survive. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't have any money that want work. And there are the occasional unicorn that come through and they're like, hey, we got a great budget. Do you want to help us? And that works too. So what do we got here for character animation? No competition. Moho is better, but for motion graphics, After Effects still rocks. I agree. Yeah, I haven't explored motion graphics in Moho a whole lot. Like, I'm still caught up on how to mask things in Moho. It took me a while to figure out how to mask things in After Effects properly, but I feel like I got it down and now it's easy. And I can be like, oh, I can mask. Oh, and After Effects created this new, like, in their latest version, you don't need to multiply your masking layer to mask out new elements. You can have one layer and everything in that file can mask to that one layer. It's like, why didn't you think of that 10 years ago? That should have been such a simple solution. So yeah, if I'm going to do motion graphics, it's in After Effects. If I'm doing animation for characters, it's in Moho. I agree. Yeah. So fork fully, you said speed. Is that a statement? Or is that some kind of an animation that you're looking for? I like it. Speed. It's quick, to the point. It's a powerful word. Speed. I like it. All right, what are we doing here? What are we doing with our lives, people? But going back to, I meant like as one of the characteristics. Oh, okay. So some kind of an animation. Oh, like Sonic or Silver Surfer. I do like that. I've always liked how, cartoons do that like anticipation pose before the kind of thing where it's like, and then they go. I don't know if I've really ever done one like that. You like that? Yeah, I like that too. Well, thanks, D. Or Triple D. Yeah, it's funny. I thought a lot of animation studios would be interested in me too, but they're not. I think what I've realized is like there's an inner circle in any industry you go to. There's an inner circle, and then there's the outliers. I'm an outlier. I've always been kind of on the outskirts of animation. I've tried to tap into that, been like, hey, I'm here. Do you need any help? But they're always full because they kind of just hire within themselves. It's like when this animator leaves this project, he's got or he or she has a spot somewhere else. Now, it's not always the case. Like Disney can fire hundreds of people. And that's the scary thing is like, well, now you have hundreds of people in that department that are displaced and they need to find work. So then they're going to move to a new studio. And so when the inner circle has such a high talent pool that they can pull from at any time, it makes it hard for the outliers like myself to get in there because we don't have the connections. So that's the challenge. And that's why this is the one thing that I wish I had learned day one in college, which my school never taught me. You need to network. Absolutely network. Don't worry about trying to get it right. Don't worry about trying to get your animation perfect. It doesn't matter. All people want to know is that you have an ability, you're kind, and you're a hard worker. And when they find you and they realize they can trust you and that you'll get the job done no matter what, then they'll hire you. But it only happens if they have a face-to-face connection with you and they go, oh, hey, cool. Like, I've met you once. I think you could do the job. Come on. That's the biggest takeaway I could give anybody is you have to network. If you have the ability to go to like an animation convention, go to it. Meet people at the booths, the studios, shake hands, give people your business card, whatever it takes. Like, that's your way into the door. And I didn't do that. I think I went to one animation conference and you know, it was great. I really didn't make too many connections at that one because I think I had work already. I was just going to experience it. That was the CNT. What is that? Creative Talent Network, or CTN. That was cool. I got to meet Eric Goldberg, one of the most amazing animators to ever exist. And he was just walking down the hall and I saw him and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to say hi to him, dude. And I ran over. He was so kind. You know, he was getting stopped left and right, but he took time to like ask my name and, you know, what I do and where I come from. It was really cool to meet the genie, if you know what I'm talking about. So you just started today and you're trying to make a cube look like it's walking. Is this in Moho? Like you just started Moho today? Anyway, network. Don't worry about sitting in your room behind a computer trying to make it look good. Yes, make it look good. People care about that. But it's more important to actually reach out and to meet people. Oh, and Blender. Blender's a software I would enjoy like getting into. I just had such bad experiences with, like when I started animation, it was in 3D. I used to use, first it was Autodesk Max, and then it was Maya. And Maya was fun. Like I loved getting to work in 3D. But then I jumped on a project where I was doing the animation and the backgrounds. And I realized I'm not a texture artist at all. And I was spending so much time dealing with textures and trying to get the backgrounds and the lighting and all that stuff to look right. It was a nightmare. I would sit there and render a spot. And then, you know, you take your 10, 15 seconds to look at it and you go, all right, let's move this light. And you'd move the light and be like, okay, no. And you move that one. No. Okay, let's bump the shininess, all that stuff. So that's the reason I don't get into 3D. Maybe Blender's easier. Maybe Blender has simplified the process to where you just kind of like click and drag different effects and all that stuff, which I feel like they must do something like that. Right, Forkfully? Is Blender, is it kind of simple or is it a strong learning curve to get into it? All right, I got to start animating. So it's been what, an hour. It's been an hour of me talking. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's do that. I'm going to do a speed take where he and darts off. It's simple, clean, easy. You could put that in funny or silly. You could put it in action. Yeah, it's kind of simple. Yeah, I guess it's with like any program, you know, it's as complex as you want to make it, right? Okay, guys. I'm just going to do the thing. It's a classic comedy trope in animation, right? Your character has to get off frame quickly. You don't have a lot of frames. You build the anticipation, and then you get them out of there quick. I love it. So, Shamim, you asked, which is better, After Effects or Moho Pro for cartoon animations? I'm not going to say you can't do it in After Effects. I've spent a long time in After Effects, and I feel like I've made some really cool stuff that I was proud of. So it's not about necessarily what you can accomplish, because people are doing amazing things in After Effects. For me, the reason I switched to Moho is because After Effects had sucked all the joy out of animation for me. And I hated it. I didn't want to animate in After Effects. I didn't even want to open the program. And anytime I looked at it, it was just so depressing just to sit there looking at the same stuff over and over, knowing that my computer is not going to process the information. So I switched to Moho just because it was more enjoyable. I can get a more powerful rig in Moho that functions 100% better. And it put the joy of animation back into life for me. So that's all I could ask for. So if you asked me that question now, I would say Moho's better. But After Effects is fine if you know your limitations. That's it. Just know your limitations. Scale, rotate, and location. Nice. All right. Let's do this little jet little thing, because I think that's going to be super easy to do. Knock on wood. All right, so first of all, let's pose our character. I don't want them just to be like a mannequin staring at the camera. Let's have them maybe I'll turn them just a little bit so that they're not so neutral. Let's put them in a little bit of like a pose. So what I like to do too, I think I mentioned this before, whichever way the body turns, always turn the mouth. I like to turn the mouth back to the camera. It just gives a little bit more of a fun, cartoony feel. Okay, so now we have our character facing their left. And just in case you guys aren't aware, I'm going to do that anticipation, take where they shoot out of the frame. And because everything's vector in here, and it's made with shape layers, I could probably even get some nice blur effect, some nice blur. What is that? Smear frames, that's what it's called. Okay, so what do we want our character to be doing? We have to sit there and think about why would our character need to move quickly? Is something coming? Maybe I'll have him standing here kind of unassumingly, and then we'll have like a big bang noise behind him, and maybe he'll kind of like drop and look at it, and that's when he realizes what it is, and then it's, I'm out of here. It could be gun bullets are about to hit him. Okay, it could be gun bullets, yes. So in that case, having him in somewhat of a neutral pose is not that bad. it's acceptable, because what we're going to do is we're going to contrast that pose with a more readied pose, kind of like, you know, he's getting ready into action. Is this fight or flight? What am I doing? And when he looks and sees it, then he can kind of and take off. And this could be cool because it could be parented with like a run cycle. So we could have him go off frame for a second and then cut to the next shot where he's sprinting. I'm not going to do a sprint cycle. I'm not doing that, but we can do this one. Maybe next week we do a run cycle. All right, so we've got our character. Let's drop in some keyframes. I'm going to smooth them out. I'll hold it for, I don't know. Oh, got karate lessons.
Hey, Daddy, you didn't walk me.
Okay.
Karate time.
All right. I love your dress.
Thank you. I got my patch.
Nice. All right. So, do we have a string? Oh, yeah, we do.
I feel like this test.
You think so?
Is this supposed to go in the
All right. So let's put, what, you got 2 stripes, 1 on each?
When did COVID start?
I don't know. Let's see if we wrap it this. Oh, no, we want on this side. Wrap it. Let's tighten this up. And then up. All right, let's go. I'll be back.
If you want to.
I'll be back. Well, because I'm doing a little video. I'm back. Where were we? Hey, still got people here. Cool. All right, let's do. Here comes that little noise. So what's gonna sound like? Boom, right? I feel like a lot of the stuff I've been doing, there's always like a I don't know, kind of like a double take or like, huh? What? What's that? Oh, well. I guess it's just kind of what I do. Can't think of anything better. Okay, so there's going to be a noise right here. Now, the question is, should the noise make him kind of slowly turn and then he sees it and then he reacts, or should he react quickly and then slowly turn? I think let's have him react quickly. Now, this is a character I made. Yeah, so it's just all been I designed it and then rigged it. I like to do things the hard way. If there's ever a chance I can do it the long, hard way, that's how I do it. I'm just kidding. Now, if they make rigs that you can buy, great. I'm not really like in tune with the whole buying and downloading world. I'm sure somebody made a rig that you can buy that's really great. All right, so let's do a quick reaction here. So we'll have him maybe like drop down a bit. Maybe the feet will come out. You can see his legs breaking there. I'll have to see what I did. All right, so then the arms will come up. The neck will definitely... Oops. What did I do? Oops, what did I change? Something changed. Was it the body? All right, so the neck will definitely scrunch down. So we can just scale the neck down. And the head comes down with it. Maybe we'll even drop the head here. Let's change this hand to something more suspensed. Let's scrunch the body down too. So it's going to kind of come down. I'm going to move these feet just a little bit more. All right. So this is going to be our kind of like tense pose. And then we'll have him slowly turn to look at what, is happening behind him. So he's standing there and all of a sudden, boom, he hits. Let's see, maybe this could be quicker. So this is where I like the way that the keyframes are structured. For the most part, I think back to our previous conversation, I like the way After Effects handles their keyframes. But what I do like about Moho is I like this function of their keyframes where every keyframe on this entire rig is controlled in this 3-column section. You have your rotation, your translation, and then your scale. I love it because it's just so easy to punch these keyframes in tighter or, stretch them out. All right, so we've got this happening here. Not too bad, so it needs some work. So I think one thing you could do is if we speed it up, then what's going to happen is we need to have some reactions So this body will probably bounce up a little bit. This will probably unsquash just a little bit, and same with the neck. The neck will come up just a little bit. Okay, the scale of it has to come up just a little bit. Whoops. Which would mean the head will come up. And then maybe we can even briefly have it settle back down, everything back down. So it'll settle down a little bit and then settle down a little bit. All right, one last thing. We'll just drop his hips. Okay, so let's see how this feels. Does it bounce nice enough? Okay. That's not too bad. So he's got that nice squash. All right, what we got? Got it. Okay, he should flinch first, then turn and realize and run. Yeah, I like that. One question. What do you got, Vertex? Let me hear it. While we're here, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the neck. And right here on these red keyframes, these are the keyframes for that neck. I'm going to move the stretchiness or the scale of the neck over maybe 2 frames. And then I'm going to change the head up and down. I'm going to grab these keyframes. Actually, right here it could go. What do we got? I'll pull these out a little bit. Head will come up first. So as the body's going down, the head will go up and then down. And then maybe down right here. Okay, so we're just offsetting the movements. Let's see if that hits a little harder on the head. All right, that's good. So the head is kind of like separate of the body. All right, your question, Vertex. Which keyframe do you use for the hand pose? So the hand pose is set up on something called a switch layer. And so a switch layer is essentially, it's a folder that has a bunch of different hand shapes in it. You know, each one is its own complete vector image. And what you can do with your switch controller is you can set up, depending on the angle of your bone, it will switch the different hand shapes. So it's almost like a time remap in After Effects, where you could have on every frame a different hand shape, and then when you time remap it and control it with a slider, you could switch the different poses in the hand. It's a lot like that. So that's how I set up my hand rigs. Okay, I like the way that this moves. What we need to do is the other part of animation is the face, the reactionary. One is silhouettes and kind of like your movement and the way that your character's poses are. The other one is the facial. We want this face to really kind of like sell the surprise or maybe the fear. So at this point, our character will blink. It'll be a quick blink. The eyebrows will come down. Eyebrows will come up. Maybe the mouth will change. So let's change the mouth here. So we'll do, open it a bit. We'll change it to sad. Maybe we'll bring the width in. Let's put that to neutral. Okay. That's not too bad. What do we got? I know I also have that, but the bone goes rotate to the pose, so it reveals all the poses that come in the bottom rotation. That's okay. So let me see here. So for the hand, and I probably could have set this up differently. I was just, so this bone here controls the rotation. And then this bone here controls, which image is being shown. So as I rotate it, we get different images. And what I was attempting to do with this bone here is I was attempting to create a little bit of flexibility in the fingers. So each hand would have its own kind of unique curl to the fingers. I didn't get far. I started this and then this was the only hand I did it with. So that was the extent of my hand rig. So I just have a rotation here. And then this moves the hands. All right. I feel like when he does his blink, maybe he can like look off a little bit in the direction that this came from. Okay. So now we're getting something cool. And I think we'll hold it for just a little bit, maybe to here. Then I'll do Control F to create a keyframe for everything in this rig. I'll change it to smooth. And then this one, I want it to be a pretty slow, like, turn to see. Maybe we go for like close to 2 seconds. Let's just see how that feels. And if it's too long or too slow, I can already see I'm going to run into an issue here with the nose because I just have almost a clean flip of the nose when the head's from side to side. So we won't be able to get the smooth rotation with his head in that direction. But let's just see what happens. So if I rotate the body like this, and then the head like this, let's smooth it out, and let's just watch. I guess it's not too bad of a nose move. Yeah, it's fine. I'll leave it. Okay. I'm going to change his pose a little bit too. So maybe I'll extend the neck upward. I can extend his body upward. Maybe I'll raise the arms a little bit higher. Maybe I'll lift him up a bit. Okay. And so we have this slow move, and I think that we can do kind of a cool little action here. So he's going to move in. He's going to see. Maybe we'll do a slow blink here too. So we'll close his eyes, lower the eyebrows. I'll change the directions. The eyes will come over to the left more and down. So my hand pose, my hand bone doesn't have an angle constraint. Let's have a look. So this bone, it is parented to the forearm bone. But it's also not actually, oh wait, no, it's parented to this little wrist bone. So as I move this little wrist bone, the hand moves with it. And it looks like there's no constraint on it. Let me just look. We'll go to the bone constraints. Yeah, so there's no angle constraints attached to it. There is an angle dynamic, which is why the hands kind of like spring around when he moves. And so anytime you see this hand kind of rotating like that, it's most likely because I have the dynamics on and it just automatically animates. So if he's waving, his hand is waving. Or the wrist is doing its thing. So that's kind of cool. So no, so when I rotate the forearm, the wrist it doesn't have any angle constraints. All right, so we've got his quick take, and he's going to look to see what it is. And then I think right here, we'll have him hold for a second to realize the horror of what he's looking at. Then he'll do his anticipation, where he's like, and then I'm out of here. This is great. I love just simple, easy animations. It's not a huge commitment. It feels nice just to kind of like be having fun. That's what I said at the beginning. I want to have fun. That's my only goal. So he's going to let him hold to here maybe. Oh, the pose change one. Sorry, I know you're probably asking like a simple question and I'm just messing it up. All right. So this one is, I believe, parented to just the forearm. Yeah. So it's just parented to the forearm. So it's separate from the wrist control. And I think even if it was attached to the wrist control, it wouldn't manipulate. Well, let's find out. Will it manipulate the hand? Well, move for sure. But now it doesn't manipulate the position of the hand. So no, well, anyway. So it is that switch layer control for the hand is parented to the forearm. And it doesn't move or rotate as I move the rig, if that makes sense. Okay, so maybe here, instead of his mouth being like, maybe he'll kind of go into like a clenched teeth, like a little more nervous. Not quite sure what he's about to see. So let's change it. We want to make sure his expression is reading. go, that looks good. Maybe we can even start to tilt his mouth the other direction. Does that work? Okay. I think I want the mouth controls to start here. So we'll move it. Let's grab all this stuff. And then I'm just going to push it forward to here. I'll smooth it out. That's better. All right, let's look at this angle control, or the tilt, because it feels kind of like abrupt. That's better. All right, so we've got this nice kind of slow build. I think to sell this first pose a little bit more, let's have his eyes kind of like dart left to right. You know, like something just happened and he's, you know, kind of freaking out about it. Like, what was that sound? Oops. So we'll move this over. Let's select these guys. We'll copy and paste them. I'm going to go one more over. All right, that should do it. Then I'll just copy and paste that and smooth them out. Okay. So we've got a nice little dart. I feel like there's a nice energy that happens here, but then it kind of dies off. I'm going to slow down this blink a little bit. So here is my blink. I'm going to move it out. Let's see. I think I'm going to try. Maybe I'll rotate the head out a little and the body out. And maybe we can rotate it backwards just a little bit. All right. All right, so we got his body kind of moving around. It's rotating here. I don't like that. So let's move this rotation over a little bit. Do the same for this. Wait a second. All right. So he's got a little bit of a move here. I feel like the timing is a little bit off on some of these. I'm going to try to tighten it up. And we got head turn. Okay. Maybe the body doesn't need to turn. Okay. Now we'll have him hold here. And we'll do, I don't know, what do you think? Should he should he slowly, welcome back. Should he slowly, when he slowly turns to look, but then should he also slowly kind of like step up into position? Or I guess it would be this way. And then quickly jet out, or should he quickly up and go? I'm just going to do it quick. I feel like it could make a nice little movement. So he'll quickly go up into position, and his position will be toward the problem because he's building up his momentum. This foot will come up. And just wait just a little bit. Quickly go up. Then keep the frame for a couple of seconds. And then he runs. All right, body will turn like this. Maybe even bend a little bit more like that. I've got these hair bones. I got to get rid of these. Get out of here, hair. Maybe head back. What are these arms going to do? Is this going to switch? Definitely need a new hand here. So some of the bone constraints I'm going to have to turn off, or not constraints, the bone dynamics I'm going to have to turn off. So like that torso, it's not responding properly. Well, let's just work on our poses first. So it comes up, he looks, he's like, okay. Okay. I'm going to turn off. Actually, I don't think I need the angle pose or angle constraint for his torso at all for this one. I'm just going to turn off bone dynamics. Oops. So this whole thing looks terrible, and that's okay because we're going to fix it. I just want to get this pose right at first, because right now it does not look good. Now that's got to come up. All right, I'm just going to keep that. That knee bend. See, the problem is the foot might go the other way. I just can't do that with this rig. So he's going to come up. Ah. What to do, what to do. Oh, flip the foot. Yeah. This rig is not perfect. You'll see the flaws as I move through it. There is a way to flip the foot, but it has to happen at the beginning. Essentially, what I have to do is manipulate the artwork before I start, but there's no easy way to just go, all right, let me translate that to a negative on the scale or the X value. So we're kind of stuck with the limitations that we have right now. We can work around it. That's okay. Question is, how far off kilter do we want to get? All right, let's say that this, I honestly don't like it. There's something wrong with it. I'm not sure what. I don't know why I don't like it. What is it about this pose that I don't like? That's feeling better. I'm trying to get this line of action to feel, clean. Look at his arm through his leg. Like in some crazy yoga pose. Yeah, I get a reference. My problem with reference is like I have this thing in my mind and I spend too much time looking for reference and I never find exactly what I want. I kind of know what the problem might be and I just don't want to do it. And I think what the problem is this needs to turn this way. And then this foot needs to turn in this direction. But my rig just isn't set up for that kind of bend. So like the idea would be like put as much weight in the opposite direction that you're going to go as possible so that when you do go into the way that you're going, there's a big change, right? So you go this way and then you're going to switch to this side. Is it possible to use a switch for the foot to flip it at a certain moment? There is. The hard thing about the way I rigged this foot is there's so many bones controlling every part of the foot, that if this was just a simple foot that had no rigging to it other than a rotation, you could flip it super easy. The problem is I'll show you a lot of stuff. I have a foot roll that affects kind of the ball of the foot, up and down. Then I have a toe roll, or like a toe wiggle, which controls the toes. Then you have a toe pivot and then a heel pivot. So this functions probably more like a 3D rig would function. And trying to figure out how to get that to flip, it's been like a challenge for me. And so with this rig specifically, what I've been doing is if I don't need to move the foot, flip the feet, I don't flip it. If I have to, I'll do it beforehand, before I start animating. I flip all the bones, I flip the artwork, everything, and it works, but you don't have the option of flipping it back. So I know down the line I'm gonna have to find a solution to fix this problem. Right now I've just been putting band-aids over it, hoping it'll resolve itself. But like this one, let's say that this was a pitcher winding up for a pitch. This leg would come across his body and it would be above his torso. I don't have switch layers turned on to put limbs in front of the torso when they don't need to be. So that's another problem that we have. But that's okay. We don't work with our problems, or we have to find ways around our limitations. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So instead of getting the perfect pose, which would be nice, we're going to deal with the pose that we can get. So maybe I square the hips up a bit more, like this. All right, I'm just going to go with this and see if we can get it to look better. So before this character can go up into it, they have to squat down. They're going to build that energy down and then explode up into it. So here, we'll pull him down. Maybe we'll keep him rotated forward. This foot is not going to move yet, so it's going to stay down. So he's going to come down, and then he can come up. So it goes down and then up. And this foot can move quickly. Okay, so we're going to go down, up. And then we can kind of move things around a little bit just to give that nice kind of like weight to it. So this body will continue to rotate backwards, maybe up just a little bit. And this will rotate back. And this will go back. And then these arms will kind of like scrunch like this. So let's see how that feels. So he goes. All right. So he turns and looks, and then he kind of, and then he's going to take off. Now, I also don't like this neck dynamic. So these dynamics that we have on the bones, they work really well for subtle actions. But for big ones, they don't work very well. Let me come in here. So the rotation of his neck, there's something weird happening here. So let's find out. Let's go ahead and copy that there. Actually, copy it here. All right, and let's do the same thing with the torso. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, how's that? Okay. Copy and paste it. Copy and paste it. One more time. Let's watch it. All right, I like that. It's quick, snappy, clean. It's maybe not quite as good as it could be, but I think it's good enough. So here he goes down and then up. I wonder, could we push this pose here a little bit more? His downward pose. Let's really squash it down. And then if we're doing that, we can play around with the squash and stretch of like his body and his neck. And then his head would come up here. And then it would really squash down here because the upward inertia. Head would come down. And then it would like spring upward here. Body would spring upwards. Neck would spring up. And then we'll settle everything in slightly here. And then head down. Okay, and then going back to our offsetting keyframes, I'm going to push the neck out, maybe just one because this is a big action. And then I'll push the head movement out too. All right, let's see how that feels. Okay, that was too big. So there's something happening with this head rotation that's like way too big. Or maybe not too big, but it's not hitting right. Okay, that's what it was. So the head has to come up there. Let's check out the scale on this too, because this has to all function properly as well. Okay, I don't think offsetting this is going to work very well. Hey, thanks for joining. So the body comes down, it's going to squash. Everything needs to squash down here. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Go up here and then squash here. There we go. All right, I'm going to lower this head movement here a little bit. All right, not too bad. It does feel a little snappy on that head for some reason. Let me see if I can smooth that out a bit. Because it like hits there. Boom. Goes bonk. All right, that feels better. Okay, so he's going to do this. Maybe we'll have him hold all his keyframes here. We'll smooth them out. And then maybe he'll slowly start to, I don't know, should he slowly start his descent and then, or should it just be, let's see, we can go slow and then maybe we'll see if we need to speed it up a bit. All right, so if he's kind of stepping, his weight will probably try to balance himself out a bit. It comes out. And then maybe we'll, I don't know, start to slide him at this point. Like this is his exit. I think I'm getting a little too creative with his movements. He's supposed to just get out of there, right? So maybe what we'll do is I'm going to speed this way up because I don't mind him kind of like easing out of this, but I want it to be quick. Like he's got to get out of there. A couple frames, right? So maybe he'll hit here. Maybe we'll start moving him around more quickly at this point. Okay, we'll turn his body. Should we have him like torpedo? That's really fast. I don't know if this rig can handle that kind of speed. That is definitely a movement. That is some speed. I love it. All right. I'm kind of just going to keep it. Just see how far we go. Okay. So the body, it needs a interest. Oh yeah. So put a hold there. Maybe I can slowly turn it out that way. The head needs a hold here, here. Rotation needs a hold here. Okay, so then once it gets to this spot here, maybe 2 more frames and he should be out of this picture. So let's get him out of there. He's gone. This foot will be out. I don't know where. Maybe in front somewhere. And that foot will be out. So that foot should not be moving yet. Let's see where it needs to be. Put it back. Maybe we'll lift it up, kind of like he's running with it. All right. I kind of like it. It's clean. It's snappy. It's got anticipation and humor. Even though he resolves it kind of like a funky pose, that's okay. Actually, I think what I need to do I bend the, let me see. Let's see if we switch the direction here. Does it go that way? It's doing its thing. It switches here for some reason. I don't want that. But I do want it to switch here, I think. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so he kind of does this thing here, and then he bends in, and he's out. All right, maybe I'll, not that I need to clean it up or anything, but maybe we'll just fix this a little bit. So it's just kind of like flying out of there. Okay. Another thing we can do, because this is all shape layers, we can manipulate some things. So like his clothes, for instance, we can start to some smear frames. So if we pull these guys out, it can almost be like a clothing effect too. Like, right? His clothes are moving. Pull it way out. Really smear it out there. Let's move this belt around too. This belt will come here. Apparently it's not doing him any good because his clothes are going crazy. Oops. Why'd that happen? Come on. All right. We'll pull this out like this. And hopefully this is just something subtle. Hopefully it's not like too crazy looking. All right, now let's just watch it. Can't even see it. But you know it's there. That's the point. If I wanted to, I think I have the flexibility to do it. If we were to, let's say we animated, oops, clothes, we could animate these little control points here. So that as he came down, we can move these out. His belt is connected to something weird. That's okay. We'll just animate it and then hopefully it'll get the feeling that it's moving and then resolve back to where it needs to be. And then this one will resolve it, but then we'll push it. Never mind, we won't push it up. Okay, but we will push it maybe past just a little bit, and then we'll settle it in to here. I think we'll probably call it a day at this point. Let's just watch it. Is it everything we dreamed it would be? All right. All in all, I think it worked. Is that what we were trying to accomplish? Because that's what we got. That's what we ended with. That's where we're going to call it. Actually, now that I'm watching it, one last little thing. Just because we have the ability to do this with this rig, I'm going to go to a tippy toe. So we're going to key this, go up to a tippy toe, push it up a little bit more. Okay, we'll hold it here. He's going to go up to his tippy toes. Up on a tippy toe. Smooth it. And then we'll have to bend it down right here. Back into position. Reset that angle. Smooth it out. All right. There we go. We did it. We had the option to, so we did it. Okay. That's what we ended with. I hope this was worth your while. Thanks, guys, for stopping by and hanging out with me. asking your questions, just chatting. It's always nice to like see people in here and talk to them. But yeah, I mean, this was fun. It was a good little exercise. I feel like it's starting to break out from that normal kind of like, let's do a generic, animation thing. So thanks for watching. Like always, I hope you guys had fun. I hope that animation is fun for you guys, because it should be. Like I said, if it's not, you're doing it wrong. So get out there, have some fun, move your rigs around, and show me your work. If you guys have something you're working on that you're like, I want to show you, or like you want me to look at and critique, just hit me up. But before I always save your work. I don't know how I get through these things, and I haven't saved anything. So I'm going to save you as, I don't know. I'm just going to say Zoom. Zoom. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining, watching, all the above. And I will catch you next week if you guys are available. All right. Peace.